Welcome to Victoria's family, and thank you for tuning in. And let's go ahead and get started. We'll have many joining us, but we'll just bring them in as they come. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your participation. We look forward to a very exciting time with you. I want to walk you through a little bit a final few things. Let me start with who I am. My name is Terence Chatmon. I'm the founder and CEO of Victoria's Family. Today, I hope to get to know you and you get to know me a little bit. This is an unusual time for us due to COVID-19. We normally would conduct these sessions live and in person, but obviously being prevented from doing that this time around, we've chose for the first time, you're the inaugural virtual group for Victoria's Family to go through our Master Family Champion Initiative or Discovery Day. A little bit about me in terms of my background. I've been an elder in the church for 12 years, a Bible study teaching leader with BSF. Also, I've led 3 major organizations in very high capacity with focus on the family. I was vice president for community impact outreach. Everything that Dr. Dobson took on the radio, I took live in the field with those guys, and then with president and CEO for Fellowship of Companies for Christ. FCCI is a marketplace ministry organization, been around for 40 years. We work with Christian CEOs and companies around the world, such as Chick-fil-A, Interstate Battery, Hobby Lobby, etc. And I led that organization and grew it from 6 to 139 countries. And then I joined John Maxwell Leadership Organization. And John has 2 for-profit and 2 nonprofit organizations. His nonprofit organizations is Equip and the John Maxwell Leadership Organization. And so I was president of both of those nonprofits for him. And many of you may know John. Obviously, he's a leadership guru. We have trained well over 7 million people in 184 countries around the world. So that is a little bit of my ministry background. And then I want to share, because I come from many years in corporate experience. My background is I started with Johnson & Johnson in 1982 in the Chicago district, and moved through that organization over 8 years and ended up as a district sales manager for them in the Florida market, and managed about a quarter of the country at 27 years old. Citibank recruited me, and I headed up Florida for Citibank Florida. And then Coca-Cola recruited me here to Atlanta, which I'm currently living and have been here for 25 years. Started the Coca-Cola company. I manage all of what we call national accounts. And so that's about 2/3 of the Coca-Cola company. So that is my corporate background. I've made the successful transition from corporate to a nonprofit. And I'll tell you my story as to how that all took place. And I can tell you that you'll hear quite often on this call is very much the Lord that moves us and guides us and lead our path in everything that we do. And we're not ashamed. We're not bashful about that. We're bold about it. We're an organization that our foundations are on those values. And we'll show you why that's so critical to what we do and how we do it. My story, it really started on an anniversary trip with my wife as it relates to Victoria's Family. And we were just having a conversation just around our 10th year anniversary, where we've been over the last 10 years, where we were at that time, and where we're going. And during that conversation, she asked a question that has really changed our life significantly. And that question was, are the kids prepared to defend their faith shortly after high school? And they were between the ages of 10 and 15 years at that time. And the response was that they were not prepared to defend their faith. Although they were Christian, they were not prepared to defend their faith. And we had realized that there was a post-high school graduation flight from faith, and as they enter into college. And so her question to me was, well, what are you going to do about it? And I said to her, what am I going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? What's the church going to do about it? I've abdicated that responsibility, right? And she says, well, actually, you need to step up and you need to take a role in this process. So of course, very loving wife, right? So we began to have those conversations. And then she went on to challenge me and said, well, you have 2 weeks to come back and tell me what your plan is. Well, I don't know about you. I mean, here I am leading the Coca-Cola company. I'm having all this great corporate success, but yet, honestly, and I was active in the church. I was very active as a director of youth ministry in the church and so forth. So I understood, but yet I was failing as the spiritual leader of my own home. And I realized that I needed to be more intentional. You know, I was out trying to change the world, but yet in my own household, I was falling short. I had abdicated that to my wife and to the church. And so that took me down a pathway that I want to walk you through today that has changed my life and actually have changed over 100,000 parents' lives around the world. And so that impact is generational. It's now having an impact on my family, on their family, and so forth. And what we see now in Victoria's family is a local but also a global movement that's transforming families around the world. And so what do we want to talk about? We want to talk about, I believe, in terms of what the issue is. I believe there's a spiritual battle for the family that's brewing today. It's been taking place for quite some time. I don't have to convince you of it. If you just look around you, you see the challenges of our society. And let me tell you, as I go around the world and I go quite distance, I think last year Delta sent me a notice saying I was in the top 10% of travelers last year. It's not something I strive for, but it's just reality. And this year, I'm probably in the bottom 10%. So at least COVID has kind of course corrected that a little bit. But I believe we're in a spiritual battle. And here's just some points to make, and because it's happening right underneath our noses. You can probably identify, this is the one challenge that really moved me, is this post high school faith flight. 64% of our young folks are walking away from the church and the faith right after high school as they enter into college. A large percentage of our population, for the first time ever, they're identifying themselves as none. They don't believe in anything they say. Well, even with that statement, they don't realize they're making a statement of belief in some way. Um, there's fragmented families. You don't have to be told that. You can see it all around you. The absenteeism of the fathers at an all-time high, pressures from culture and media surrounding our kids and surrounding our families today. And in fact, if we're not intentional, they will be in leading and guiding and directing your kids in a way within this culture, our social media culture that's influencing our society and our children and our families today. And finally, I don't think I have to convince you that there's a moral and spiritual decay. We can see it all around us as an example of that. And it's a tough one to look at. But when have we ever seen children killing children as we're seeing today? That's never happened before as we were growing up. This is the pandemic that's happening right underneath our noses. And it's quite um, different, but yet is quite effective, even more so than the COVID pandemic that we're identifying with. And so what's happening, in addition to that, Gallup poll did a study back in 2016, and it showed that 72% of people surveyed said that Christianity is losing its influence. Well, I beg to differ. It is being challenged for sure. But I can tell you all around that the Lord is moving in a mighty way. But I know it and you know it, that Christianity is losing its influence on our society. And we have to begin to ask ourselves why. Well, here's a tidal wave that you may not be familiar with, but I want to enlighten you today. And this tidal wave is really a depiction of a crisis. This is a picture of a population of four generations: builders, boomers, busters, bridgers, and that next generation, millennials. This is a picture of the biblical worldview that each generation had within its respective time period. For example, builders, there was 47.8 million population that's identified within the builder generation, and 31.1 million of them identified themselves as evangelical. And they approach issues and problems in life under a biblical worldview lens. Whereas you can see a dramatic shift happen in the boomer generation, the largest generation prior to the millennials. Over 77 million boomers, 27.2 million confess some form of relation, and yet only 35% of them identified themselves that they approached issues with a biblical worldview. That has declined quite significantly over the past generation, where just 4% of our bridgers believe themselves. You may know them as Gen X, Gen Y, busters and bridgers. And so we've seen a dramatic shift, a 98% shift in our biblical worldview in terms of our society. Is there a pandemic? Is there a tidal wave? I believe that there is. And I believe that it's greater than what we've ever seen before. And so how can we turn this tide? Well, one of the ways at Victoria's Family, we're identifying 100,000 master family champions to be deployed, to be equipped, deployed, and mobilized worldwide. And we're looking to see that by 2030, and I'll show you why that is so significant and so important. And we're looking to deploy them in strategic locations worldwide that we're already being invited to, but we simply can't begin to address these issues because we don't have you. We don't have people like you with a heart to who wants to make a difference, who wants to change this tide that's happening in our society. Barna did a study not too long ago, and they found that 98% of youth pastors believe that the spiritual formation of children begin in the home. And many of us have abdicated that to the church. And believe me, I believe in the church. I'm a church elder. I believe in the church full-heartedly as its bride. But I believe that we have to start in the home, as we've started, and then it's basically reinforced in the church. But we found something interesting that 65% of Christian parents, although they want to do the right thing, but 65% of them felt totally inadequate in teaching their children around biblical principles. And that's a challenge. Why is that? And so I want to challenge us all to think through this issue. Whether we join Victoria's Family or not in this movement, you have a role to play. You are significant. You're important in this movement. And so as I move through, I want you to know that here's the paradigm shift that we're aiming for. Today, the old paradigm is kind of, when you're talking about producing healthy, thriving families, the old paradigm is, hey, let's send them to church, let's send them to Bible study, let's send them to, Sunday school, let's give them all this special hyped up stuff, and hopefully, they can walk away after about an hour of some type of sermon or something on Sunday, and their life is going to be transformed. Well, that reality, as you know, is just not happening very well. And the reality is I want to shift that, not from the church, but I want to start it in the home. And so let it be home-centered and church-supported. And that's the way we used to do it. Back when I was growing up, we had a 50-ton Bible sitting on the coffee table. And, we didn't have all the fancy social media stuff. We just had this big old huge Bible that says Holy Bible across the top of it. And our parents would just sit down and have conversations with us around those 66 books. And we would participate each Sunday. There was nothing competing for our time. There wasn't, hockey matches and baseball matches and football matches and all these other things, and soccer games and so forth. In fact, Sunday was a pretty routine day. As you woke up, you went to Bible school, you went to Sunday school, and you went to church and so forth. And that's the home that I grew up in. And it was home-centered, but it was church-supported. And so I think as we get back to some of that, I think we'll see healthier, thriving families. And so here's a kind of a journey or pathway that Victoria's Family has been on, that I think is important for you as you look at who we are, what we do, and how we do it. In 1997 is when I had that conversation with my wife, and we began to implement this plan in our own home. It's a generational spiritual family plan, and we began to be very intentional in raising our kids this way and having these conversations. And from that point, in 2001, we started just conducting workshops at a local church, and at the request of individuals. We hadn't even thought about starting a ministry or an organization or 501c3. We just simply wanted to give it all away. And in 2007, we ended up being led and joined Focus on the Family as nothing around this ministry or platform. It was simply just to join them and become vice president of what we call community impact outreach. And all of a sudden they requested that every staff member of Focus on the Family be trained on the materials that they knew I had prepared. And so we trained over 1,300 employees at Focus on the Family. And then they encouraged me to take it outside of Focus on the Family. And some exciting things began to happen. But again, I wasn't thinking about a ministry or organization or anything of that nature. I just wanted to get this message out. And in 2009, something interesting is we were going out. We had trained over 30,000 churches and over 100,000 parents. It was just, I'm like, Lord, you just can't be real about this. This isn't kind of what I thought. I just thought I'd do a little something at home and be that spiritual leader at home and make a difference. But yet the Lord had greater plans for me. And as we moved out, 2017, as we were doing the ministry off and on part-time, because I'm still in corporate America, but yet I'm just doing a few, 4 times a year, getting my message out. And all of a sudden I made a connection and they wanted me to write a book. And so we published our first book by Thomas Nelson was the publisher. And that book went global. And then we launched it in February of 2017. In March of 2017, we were #2 on one of the best-selling lists, and I had no idea who. Maybe my wife bought more books than I could imagine, so I need to check my basement and see. But it was just like, I can't even believe that anybody would buy the book other than my wife and kids, and that's, I figured that's all who would buy it. And so because these royalties were coming in after the book launch, my thought was just to form a 501c3 so I don't intermingle the money from the ministry side and my personal side. And I separated because I'm still in corporate America. I'm still, doing my jobs. I'm now in nonprofits, but yet I birthed Victorious Family in 2018. And then in 2020, there was this calling to really take it global in a bolder way. And so in 2020, we began an initiative, really 2019, 2020, we began an initiative to launch this around the world as we received invitations. And we're now training people in Asia, Africa, Latin America, Europe, America, Canada, et cetera, et cetera. And then in 2030, our goal is to see 9.2 million families impacted by what we're doing. Now, we're not centered around a number, but it is a target based on the strategic cities, and about 10% of those populations we're targeting, because that's the tipping point, as Malcolm Gladwell would say. That's a tipping point. Once you begin to reach 10% of a culture, you start to see transformation. And that's the word I want to put on your mind is transformation. The reason we're doing what we're doing, we want to see a change. We want to see transformation in the family, through the family. And I believe we have to start at home. In order for our culture to be impacted, in order for our culture and that tide to turn, I believe it needs to start with us, and it needs to start in our home. And so that's been our journey. It's been a wonderful journey around how we started. It started with me. It started moving out, and it started to reach the world. And so why you? Here's our mission. It's really to equip and empower family champions who are parents who will make mature and thriving, faithful families. And we need trainers in order to do that, in order to scale. In the old days, I could do that, or the people we trained at Focus, we had a team there. We could do that, and we could go out. But today, the demand is way too great, and we can't scale without you. And that's the significance of this call today. We do that through our workshops. They're one-day workshops. You can find more information on our website, victoriousfamily.org. Our workshops is a one-day workshop, typically Saturdays 9 to 3, 6 hours is typically what we need. In some cases, some churches or organizations may set up 2 days, Friday night, Saturday morning, but all in all, 6 hours is what our demand is. And we need that type of time. We've been doing this for over 12 years. We've trained, as I said, over 100,000 parents to date. And so we kind of know how to do this. We've been doing this a long time, and there's some new elements if we begin to now do some virtual type of training that we haven't done before. And a lot of this training here is face-to-face. But this year, of course, we'll be doing more virtual training, more virtual coaching training as well, because obviously the meeting face-to-face is just not happening at this time. It's not an option. Our resources are developed. These are just some of the resources that will be available to you as a trainer coach. We have our family planning worksheets that we walk the parents through. We have all types of prayer guides and study guides for parents. We have 7-day devotionals, for example, for parents. My book is called Do Your Children Believe? You can look that up. It's on Amazon and everywhere else. But Do Your Children Believe is the book that was published in 2017, and it's done very well. We have blog posts, podcasts, everything, all the resources you need to be successful as the master family champion. And so the impact has been great, but the opportunity is even greater. And our history has shown us 100,000 parents, but what does it look like to reach 9.3 million parents in the next 10 years? Well, we can't do it without you. And so we're ramping up this side of it. So let's talk about what you came here to really get information on. What is this Master Family Champion certification about? Is it what does it look like? Is it for you? Does it fit? And so let's walk through some of that. And here's the passion that you have to have. If you have a passion to see future generations living in a world that's much different than what we're accustomed to today, I'm interested in talking to you. If you have a passion that you think it's essential that we prepare our children and ourselves for this new world, I'm interested in talking to you. We're not going to sell you on anything. We have nothing to sell you. We don't have anything to try to convince you to do. This has to be a calling. This has to be something in your heart. And if not an issue. Buy the book, follow us on social media. We thank you. But for those who really have a heart and passion and a calling, we want to talk to you. And the good news is if you have a day job, you can keep that day job because most of our training is on a Saturday. But for some of you, you may choose to jump in full time and go at it. And we'll show you a very strong earning potential for those that do that. And we're not doing this for money, but you and I know we need money in order to live and function and pay for those things. But at the same time, that's not our end goal, is to figure out how to make you so much money. But at the end of the day, we know that there's a process for that to happen. And so we're also looking for people who have a high, who are what I call kingdom leaders. They want to have impact and influence in the kingdom. And they also model this behavior. Not that any one of us are perfect, because none of us are. So let's just make that known. But for those who have a heart to see the kingdom move forward and to see their faith and to see their journey of faith expanded, we want to talk to you. So here's our model: it's reaching 9.3 million families by 2030. We're expanding the kingdom through the family. We're going to start in what we call our Jerusalem, in the family. Let's start at home, and then let's move out to our Samaria. A lot of us start in Samaria. We start in far places, but our homes are suffering. And you know it, and you've seen it. You've seen it around you. And that tide must change. It is non-negotiable, guys. It's non-negotiable. I mean, even in Joshua days, if you look at Judges 2:10, just one generation after Joshua died, an entire nation fell away from the faith. They forgot everything about their God that they had been taught. Not that they forgot about God, they were just practicing other gods as well. Well, I believe we're seeing, we're in a Joshua 2:10, a Judges 2:10 moment. We're in that time right now. And I believe we can turn that tide. And so how do we do that? We have to equip and deploy family champions. And you are, as a master family champion, you're the equipper. You're the one to equip and to coach them through a process. I was looking at some old footage of Tiger Woods yesterday, and in some arguably maybe the best golfer of all time. Who knows? You may be a Jack Nicklaus fan or some other fan, but I'm a Tiger Woods fan, right? And I'm looking at Tiger win four, kind of what they call the four horsemen. I mean, he walked out with four amazing trophies, and I'm looked at it, and even Tiger Woods had a coach and have a coach. He still, as one of the greatest, even in the height of his career, he maintained a coach to help him through. And so what we do, our trainers and coaches, there's assessments that we provide that's free for parents to assess where they are currently. And then there's a workshop that I mentioned to you. And then we have transformational resources that we provide. And then there's coaching. And everything we do, and we unapologetically do it, is God honoring, it's Christ centered, but it's also missional in scope. We want our families not to just get healthy on the inside, but we want them to get healthy so they can give it away and they can serve others in the community, serve others in the nations. We have family mission trips that we coordinate every 3 years so that families can travel together and they can begin to serve together as a family. Uh, what's our bottom line? Is kingdom-minded parents building kingdom legacy homes. That's what we're after. If you're excited about that movement, we want to talk to you. If not, again, we thank you. And we thank you for tuning in. But that's who we are, what we do, and how we do it. Our Master Family Champion is a certification program for those who have a desire to become a champion. For other families, we want to talk to you. And the Master Family Champion certification program is something that we're launching this year. This has been a dream come true. Before we had a staff to roll this out, and it's just not big enough. Our staff simply can't handle the demand. And so we realized that in order to reach the demand in the areas that the Lord is calling us to, we need family champions to take this message around the world. And so we need to train the trainer, so to speak. If not, my staff will be burnt out within a week due to the requests that we have. So we need you, and we'll do all the equipping and preparing, and you don't have to worry about any of that. What you have to bring to the table is a heart for transformation. That's what I need from you, is a heart of transformation. Well, who are these Master Family Champions? Let me give you 3 big buckets. They're committed to walking with the Lord. They love others enough that they want to give away what the Lord has gifted them with, and they have a desire to serve them. And they have compassion. They have a compassion for the brokenness and for the hearts that's around us. They don't see that as acceptable. They're loving people. They want to make a difference, and they believe that the Lord can use them in a mighty way. And they see that there's no obstacles. There's challenges, but there's no obstacles too big for Him to overcome. And so that's who we're looking for. If that fits who you are and the passion that you have, and maybe you felt as I did when I was in corporate America, thinking, Lord, how can you use me in a mighty way? And my role was to grow companies, and I did that very well. I knew how to do that. I've been successful in the marketplace for over 30 years, and I continue to do that. But there's a greater passion, there's a greater challenge before us, and He's called us to participate. And so I'm all in, fully committed. Been at this for 12 years and successfully impacting people. And not because of anything we're doing. I want to be very clear of that. We do nothing on our own. It's all supported by greater people and really by the Lord. And so we give Him all praise, honor, and glory for what's happening. Well, let's talk about some earning phases and what this role is about. as a trainer coach. We call them a master family champion. There's three participations. One, we have workshops, as I mentioned to you. These workshops average about 100 participants in size. We have a cost of $120 per couple and $80 per individual. So parents come to our workshop at the invitation, typically at a church or sometime at an outside organization, and we host workshops, one-day workshops. And we leverage social media and so forth to invite people there. We also go to and make connections with partner churches that we've been involved in. We've trained over 30,000 churches here. And we sent out, and so we target these churches that fit our profile and where we want to go, and they invite their parents to come to a workshop, and they make that offering. And then the training itself, that one-day training that you would lead and guide, and we teach you how to do that. All the materials are already completed, so you don't have to develop any of that. And it's around our 3 C's. The first year of theme is around connection. The second year is commitment, and the third year is commission. And so we teach parents around connection. What do you believe? Why do you believe it? How do you begin to have conversations with your children in order to do that? Commitment is how do we live this out? How do we live this life that we've been called to live as a parent? And we center it around Ephesians 6:4. It says fathers really speaking to parents to train and instruct your children. Well, remember, 65% of our parents don't feel adequate to do that. And so they want to do the right thing, just like I wanted to do the right thing. I just didn't know how. And so we want to equip them and prepare them to do that. And then after that training, there's a follow-up coaching process that some parents will sign up for. And so your role is that workshop training coaching, the training side of it one day, 9 to 3 is typical on a Saturday. And the coaching side, we have different programmings there for parents to engage in. But this is how our family champions earn revenue. First of all, they get 10% of all revenue from our workshops. Secondly, and these workshops are sometimes coordinated by you, but a lot of times they're coordinated by us, and you show up and conduct the training and reap all the revenue. It's not bad. It's not a bad deal. The second piece is any materials that's sold at that workshop, our books or so forth, 10% of those revenues go to you. And then 60% of coaching fees, those parents that sign up for coaching, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute, 60% of those revenues, they go to you as a coach. Because we know if we have healthy, strong, financially supported coaches, eventually we want you to sign up for this full time. We want you coaching on a regular basis. We want you training on a regular basis. But at the same time, we also know that you need income in order to support yourself. And so this is an easy way in. We're doing a lot of the work for you, but yet you're reaping some great benefits. And I'll show you how great those benefits could be. And then finally, there'll be speaking at relevant conference opportunities that I can't do and others in my organization can't do. And so we'll refer some of our top level coaches to go and do those speaking engagements, and you keep 100% of the income or revenue that comes into that. It's yours for your work, because you're going to be sharing information around Victoria's family, and you're kind of our marketing support person. So you reap the benefit, you keep the funds, and you simply support Victoria's family by making known who we are and what we're about. Okay, and so we will set up and help you with partner churches. We have a pretty significant data bank through my experience with John Maxwell, through my experience with FCCI, through my experience over the years with Dr. Dobson and Focus on the Family. I am very well connected in the church community and around the world. In fact, we have training these programs, like I say, on 5 continents to date. And in some cases, we might even invite some of you to come along with us and be a delegation as we train. For example, this year we had to cancel it and reschedule for next year. But we were heading to Italy. We were gone for like 4 months. We were going to do a wave through France and Asia and then Italy. And we had 30,000 people signed up for Italy in and actually it would have happened next week. But we couldn't. Obviously, we've canceled that and moved into 2021. In fact, you can. I think the posting is still up. Christian Alive 2020 is what it was called in Italy. The entire nation of Naples was being invited to our training. And so I couldn't do training for 30,000 people. We would take master family champions with us to conduct that training across that country and impact 30 to 40,000 people for Christ. So that's kind of the opportunity. A little bit more around our coaching program for our master family champion offering. After you train in the workshop, some parents, as I said, will sign up for continued coaching. We have 3 program offerings for those parents: a 3-month program, a 1-year plan, and a 3-year plan. And it's designed this way because we center our coaching around a 3-year pathway, and then we rotate that back. And so year 1 is around connection, year 2 commitment, year 3 commission. And so we coach parents on how to design an intentional family plan around these 3 themes. And so here's our coaching plan. So some will sign up for a 3-month. It's a cost for them of $720, and you provide the coaching for those parents. We give you the resources. You simply coach them through our process, and we give you all of the things you need to be effective, and we train you on that. The second part is some people will sign up for a 1-year plan and say, I want to commit to a year, and you help them to build a 1-year plan for their family, and we'll show you how to do that. And that's how I started, and I still actually, although my kids are now out of the house, we're empty nesters, believe it or not, for 24, 25 years, my family still go through this process on every other Sunday from 8 to 9. My family's on a conference call line, actually still doing family devotionals and so forth after 20-some years. So you're looking at someone who's actually lived it, not just speaking about it. And I've seen the impact in my own home. If you get my book, you can see some of my kids' testimonials and my wife's testimonial that I've been married for 38 years. She'll share with you, because believe me, your biggest critics right there, right? So yeah, they're your bigger fans, and they're also your biggest critics, and they'll tell you the truth whether you want to hear it or not. And so the third part is a 3-year plan. Some folks sign up for our entire 3-year plan at a significant discounted basis, and that's a $4,000 plan, and they want you to walk with them over a 3-year period. Okay. Now, what percentage do we have in our 3-month, 1-year, 3? We don't know. This is the first launch of this plan in 2020. Before, I used to just kind of do this and never really kept track. We just put it out there, and now we need to formalize it. We need to put it into action, and we need to do that with you. And so now we're ramped up to do it. But remember, you keep 60% of all earned coaching revenue. That's yours to keep, and share 40% with Victoria's family as a donation for us. And so that's our plan. So here's how it looks, just to kind of give you a potential earning potential for this organization. Our workshops typically 110. Here's our costs. On average, we bring in revenue from our workshop between $10,000 and $12,000 per workshop. You keep 10% of that. It's a $1,200 earnings for you. So your investment is already back to you in one workshop. And this is all on one workshop. The second earning potential is the coaching piece. Remember those 100 participants. We're saying if 33% of those participants sign up as coaching clients, and we kind of broke them out, that 24 would sign up for the 3-month, 7 would sign up for the 1 year, and 3 would sign up for the 3 year, or two would sign up for the 3 year, I'm sorry. Then this number of 25,272 is based on that calculation. You may want to click that page, because you may want to remember it, because we have no problem with you doing that, but also don't worry about that. We have a PDF for you to download, which has all of this information I'm sharing with you, and you can pull it up and research it and read it over and over again. So don't worry about trying to write down information. We're going to provide this information for you, and then you can look at it at your leisure. So that's the first component. The third component, remember, is a speaker, where you keep 100% of any income that you bring in. We'll help you set those meetings up. In fact, a lot of times, as I'm getting an overflow of meetings, I'll farm those off to my coaches who's been active and who's trained. And I'll say, hey, if you have a passion for this area, you know, I want to talk to you, and we'll walk through if you're the best candidate for that, and we'll make those introductions, or you may go out and source your own speaking opportunities. But today, just to come and give you an idea, just this year we have over 1 million views on all of our advertising websites and over 183,000 clicks just this year. So we have plenty of invitations, but we don't have enough manpower to really fulfill what we're trying to do. The more you train, the more you coach, the more you earn. It's just that simple. There's no cap, there's no limitations, and it's quite significant. So imagine with one workshop and one speaking engagement, your potential earning is $30,000. Now, we make no guarantee. These are just simply illustrations, but this is what we're realizing. And so let's say you do 6 workshops a year. That's over $180,000 potentially. If you do more than that, it's up to you. If you do 2 workshops and you just want some extra, vacation money or whatever, $60,000 is your potential. But your commitment has to be for the training and the coaching. Some of you would just do the training and say, Terence, I just enjoy training. I really don't want to do coaching. I'll just do that, and that's great. And some of you will say, you know what, I want to do the training and coaching. And so we'll certainly teach you how to do that. We need trainers and coaches. And we don't have the capacity to handle that. And so what's that entry? It's really a suggested donation to get started and to get involved in our training program. And so it's a $1,200 certification training fee that gets you into our training program for our Master Family Champion. So many of you have been looking at that fee. It's normally $2,400. Today it's $1,200. Many of you have been saying, wait a minute, Jeremy, we got to pay to get in this? No, this is to come and start the training process. It is tax deductible with 501c3. But if you say, Terence, I'm all in, I want to continue this, then it's $397 annually is what you have to pay in order to maintain your license as a Master Family Champion for Victoria's Family. That's it. $390. Where can you start a business for $397 a year and maintain it that has great earning potential? I don't know of any, and I don't think you do as well. And $1,200, like I say, we're our 501c3. You have to check with your tax accountant, but it is tax deductible because it's a suggested donation. And it gets you into our certification training class. But it also covers your first year of licensing. And so we use it for both, and it gets you started. So the first year, that $397 is included in the $1,200. That gets you all of our material. It gets you through our training. And we're looking to do that within the next 30 to 60 days. So time is of the essence. Remember our mission. This is the bigger picture. By 2030, bringing on 100,000 Master Family Champions around the world, conducting workshops globally to reach 9.2 million minimum. And we think that's very easy to do. In fact, my China friends tell me, Terence, your number's way too low. It's not a number there to be a number. It's a number to simply say directionally in these strategic cities that we're targeting, if we can impact 10% of those populations who say that they have a heart for the Lord, this is the number that's minimum that we need to reach. So here's an invitation for you to join the movement. And how do you join? Well, here's next steps. You go to our victoriousfamily.org, write this link down. It's also in the information I sent you on Indeed. victoriousfamily.org, Master Family, and begin, if you want to start and you're in, and so Terence, I get it, I'm all there. Click, start the process, pay the $1,200, get started. Remember, it's tax deductible, and you get enrolled, and you will be in contact with you following up in next steps. For those of you who say, Terence, I might need some more information, Well, go to victoriousfamily.org, go to our Master Family page, and find out more information. You're the most important domino in our organization. And then once you enroll, we'll set you up to attend our next certification training class, which is what that fee gets you into. And we'll start to communicate the details of that. Okay? So once you also get started, once you go to the website, you'll see you will have immediate access to all of our Family Champion resources. And we'll start the process. Now, to sign up for this class, you may or may not choose to move forward as a Master Family Champion. You may say, Terence, thank you. I'm just not interested in moving forward. And that's good. We thank you, and we hope you do it in your own home. But for some of you will say, Terence, I'm ready to move forward. I want to be certified. I want to be trained. I want to be coached. Then we'll walk you through the workshop, and we'll start the training process. That's online. It's virtual. It's over 6 weeks. We want to make sure you're properly trained and properly certified. So when we put you in the field, we have no doubt that you can handle what you need to do. We won't send you out unless you're equipped and responsible. We just won't do it. Our brand is too significant to protect it. Yeah, I'm a brand guy. I'm an old Coca-Cola guy. So if nobody else understands brand, I do. And so I want you to be very well equipped and very well informed. And remember, we're not selling you on anything. We don't want you to buy anything. Don't feel obligated to sign up for anything. But we do need you. We need Master Family Champions to accomplish what we're been called to do. We can't do it without you. And so we want you to see this as a calling, not a job, not something to do. It's not a hobby. It's a movement. So that's who we are. Here's our website, victoriousfamily.org. You have the other links. I hope that you would visit us, and I hope that you would connect.